I got fired, the economy. Then, trying to get another job afterwards, going from a job for $12 an hour to working at Burger King. No, I'm not going to do that.
20 years ago, I decided to be homeless. I got out of prison, decided I couldn't, live around people or, deal with society, so I chose to be homeless.
Because I used to drink 24/7. All right, I did it with handing out my, when I had my kids. That's why I'm called the alcoholic. Okay. I went through a divorce. My kids got stolen. And it got to where I got very sick.
I concluded that I really needed to flee. I was, at that point, I was really afraid of my mother. My mother was mentally ill. She was mentally ill, and I was afraid of her. And so I bought a one-way ticket on a Greyhound bus and wound up in New York City with, I don't know how much money I had when I got there, maybe $19, no money, no job, really frightened, disturbed, angry, determined that I would never see my family again. I would never go home. I'd never go back to Des Moines, Iowa, where I was from. I was just going to die before I'd ever do that. And that sort of began my long, many, many years on the streets of living homeless in New York City.
The jungle is an area of the city of Ithaca where people have been camping out for, as far as I know, probably 70 years. And the reason it's called the jungle is that it used to be called the hobo jungle. And the reason it was called that was because it was the people riding the trains that would get off the trains and camp out in that area of the city. And they were not really permanent residents. They would get back on the trains. They traveled across the country. And once all that stopped, they shortened the name to the jungle.
So they're going to stay there for a long time. It doesn't matter. Even if you evict them from that location, they're going to end up going somewhere because they don't want to be confined in a structured kind of way where they don't have the freedom they exercised or they felt when they were in that residence area, in that jungle.
Some of these people, we can't afford a rent or afford the rent. It's because the rent's too high. They get refused by the shelter program because they drink or they don't oblige by their set of rules. Now this comes to the independence things. We're not asking you to support us. Okay?
Yeah.
That's the reason why you got these people in tents.
A lot of homeless people get to the point where they're so alienated from their families, so distrustful of authority, the police, whatever, and that they would prefer to live in a tent or on the sidewalk or out on the streets rather than have anything to do with sort of established authority.
Yeah, I was always raised to question authority no matter what, and question everything, people do. And
Was that your parents? Did they question authority as well?
oh yes, my father was a Schuyler County Sheriff's deputy for a lot of years, and he's the one that told me, question authority.
They look at it as the bureaucracy, and they have chosen not to have anything to do with bureaucracies. In fact, they look at our program as part of that bureaucracy. Because there are so many eligibility requirements and program policies and procedures they have to follow.
They are very transient. They are nomadic in a sense. Most of them lived a good life and constructive life one time or another. Some of them are vets for economic reason or another. And also enjoying their life as freedom to be in this kind of occupy the space known as the jungle.
There was a guy who just hung himself this past summer. Nobody knew that, of the reactions on there, He didn't seem that depressed, okay? Now that was a shocking. We as a family, we had to deal with that grieving process because everybody was in shock.
If you become homeless and you're not very tough and very strong and very centered in some way, you will. I don't know. I don't really know exactly what it means to be crazy, but you'll have some mental problems. I mean, you will get depressed. You will get really frightened. You'll suffer from anxiety attacks. It's natural. I mean, people, why are you anxious? Well, living in the streets of New York, right?
Many folks who are mentally ill do end up homeless or have periods of homelessness during their life.
I had a lot of mental problems. Okay, I got depression, anxiety, not schizophrenic, what my sister did.
Starting in the 1950s through the 60s and 70s, a process of deinstitutionalization occurred in which individuals who'd spent their life in large state hospitals like Willard just up the road, or Binghamton, or Utica, were reintegrated into the community. And this was a function of medications that became available, partly antipsychotic medications.
Mm-hmm. Grew up with a schizophrenic mother, an alcoholic father.
Your mother was schizophrenic?
My mother was, yeah, and I got a sister that was too. She's passed away now.
How did you find out that you had depression and anxiety?
I committed suicide 3 times.
You tried to?
Tried to. The third time was a doozy. That kind of woke me up. Okay. I think things should have been, But that's family issues and mental issues. I think I used the alcohol as an escape.
I was adopted, so I don't know. That kind of throws me for a loop sometimes, but
why is that?
it just makes me wonder who I look like. You know what I mean? Like, you can look at your parents and be like, yeah, I look like my mom, I look like my dad. Me, I can't do that. You know what I mean? It's just, I don't know.
My best friends right now are skunks that I have down at my camp. I can trust them over people. I prefer to get along with wildlife than I do people. So
I'm one of the guys that stands out there and says, homeless, hungry, broke, whatever. I do that too to make money. And I've literally had people pull up to me and roll up their windows because they're afraid of me. It's like a 90-degree day, and they'll roll up their windows looking at me. And as soon as they drive away, they put it back down.
When you look in the mirror, if you look in the mirror, you see this dirty, bedraggled, pathetic, drunken person, and it's reinforced because most people in New York City or anywhere else really don't have a lot of time for homeless people. They don't like them. They avoid them. If they see you, they walk away from you.
Don't judge us until you've walked in our shoes. Don't do it.
I've been self-sufficient, my whole life, and I choose this life, and I refuse to give it up.
I'm looking pretty positive, okay? I'm on the right goal.
You're on the right track?
Yeah, getting there. On the right track.
Well, thank you very much.